Okay, yay! Thank you all for coming and welcome. We have Beth Wheat and Brian Adams this week, some of our theater alumni and theater pros from the Big Bear Valley. So what I also wanted to let them do to introduce themselves is kind of take a journey through their lives in musical theater and see all the different roles that they've had both in and out of this community, because they've both done a lot, including having their families be involved and whatnot. So Brian, can you introduce us to a little bit to how musical theater has been in your life?
Sure. My first role in theater was playing Marley's Ghost in Christmas Carol in sixth grade. I really wanted to be one of the other ghosts, and so I was a little disappointed, but I put my heart and soul into it, and that was my first real foray. Did a lot of stuff in middle school and high school. A lot of performing. Did a lot of backstage work. I was the stage manager for Annie Get Your Gun when I was in sixth grade, which was really fun. High school, did Oliver, Oklahoma, then went away to college and did Sound of Music and Diary of Anne Frank. Then a lot of community theater stuff in Minnesota as well as Big Bear, and all sorts of parts of that. Performing, of course, actually doing some creating choreography, set design, costume design, producing, directing, some actual writing, creating shows, all that kind of stuff. Most of my work in theater has been outside of school, has been as a musical director for Cats, and did that for about 10 years maybe. Was a musical director for every show for a very long time. And most recently with my job at the high school, I'm the performing arts teacher there. I teach choir and drama, and as well as run the performing arts club, which does all of these plays. And we've done a bunch of really beautiful things. Unfortunately, with the shutdown, we were halfway through our run of Almost Maine, did one weekend, and then had to cancel the second weekend. But that was a lovely, lovely play that we just did. And then Beth and myself both are kind of co-members, co-founders of the Big Bear Theater Project, which also is a smaller, just a different take on community or regional theater. And I've done a lot of work with that and have worked on that for quite some time. And we're getting pretty darn good at what we do. So that's me. Take it away. Whoever's next, Beth, maybe.
All right. So I've been in and around theater my whole life. My mother was a professional musician, and she was a performer. She entertained, but one of the ways she made extra money was to adjust musical scores for theaters. There were often singers who couldn't sing in the key that it was written in. And back then, there were not computers to do that work for you. So she would rewrite the score or the piece in the key that the performer needed. And oftentimes those performers would come to our house to figure out the key and then to rehearse with my mom. And she also was a rehearsal pianist for a number of theaters. So, that was something that definitely got me connected to theater. But interestingly, I wasn't really drawn to musical theater. And Brian, I didn't realize that you had a sixth grade past as I do as well. I went to Walt Disney Elementary School in Anaheim, California, and my sixth grade teacher really liked my writing. She believed in my writing, and she did a lot of things for me. I actually was published in a magazine for a Halloween story. And then at the end of the sixth grade year, she asked me to write and direct the sixth grade play, which I did. We also did a little snippet of Macbeth in sixth grade too, which I was in. And so I mentioned Walt Disney Elementary School because at the end of the show, the principal came out and they did the Mickey Awards. So I got best director and best playwright Mickey's. Yes, thank you. They were really bobbleheaded Mickeys. It was cool. So there was that. And then I started as a theater major in college, and then I didn't want to starve, but I did do a couple of productions. I did Blithe Spirit and Grapes of Wrath, and then did more, legit theater. When I came up to Big Bear, my sons, Matt and Jack, who a lot of people on here know, were young, and I actually went to see one of the first productions at the PAC that was done by the community, and it was called A Mall in the Night Visitors. And it starred Chris Light, who is the mother of Taran Killam, and it also starred Taran Killam, who played the boy, the role of the boy. And I just remembered how much I missed theater because I'd been away from it for a while. So I auditioned for Brigadoon, and I was actually cast in the role of Bonnie Jean, which is a dancing role, which petrified me. So much so that Big Bear had this big giant earthquake. And the theater got shut down for about 3 years. And so we didn't do Brigadoon that first time around. I guess they did. They did it at the middle school, but I had dropped out of the production because the rehearsal schedule was too intense for how young my kids were at the time. But when they got old enough, which was the second production of Brigadoon, I played Jane, the jilted fiance, and I was a member of the clans, which was much more in my comfort zone. And I met Margot and everybody at Cats. Brian wasn't with us then yet, but just made all these amazing relationships. So that's my long-winded story.
That's so fun. I actually have a story with one of Beth's sons because I believe Jack was in The Three Musketeers with my sister.
Probably Matt.
Oh, Matt.
Yes, Matt was.
And I would go to all their rehearsals. I had to be in like young elementary school at this time. Loved all of the plays that my sister did. And I think during one of the rehearsals, as the people are coming in, they like walked through the audience area, and I think Matt kissed my hand because I was like sitting there with my mom and the other family that's just there for rehearsal, and I was just flabbergasted, and I honored that hand for like the next week. I still remember it, just because to me these middle school students, when I was maybe 6 at that time, were these wonderful, amazing actors. And the fact that one of these people in this play kissed my hand, and he was this handsome young teenage boy, was too much for my heart. So I still remember that. That's one of my favorite moments.
That story, I will be sure and tell him. That's awesome.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I also think one of Tori and I, one of our earlier plays was Charlie Brown. You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Yes.
And were both of you on the audition, like
yes.
The panel?
Yes, I was the director and Brian was the musical director.
Yep.
I think we had to go in for our auditions, and I was terrified. But you were probably the nicest panel of people to ever have in front of.
Yes. Yeah, we tried to make it easy on everybody. That was a lot of fun. You guys were adorable. I still remember you that way as a little Woodstock bird.
Spencer still has his little tiny orange Vans tennis shoes.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's true.
And Margot's girl.
Brian's son was with us on that. We were all the little birds together.
Yeah, Woodstock's flock.
We have quite a few requests already. So actually, I will start with Brian. Can we do On the Street Where You Live? That one's such a fun one from My Fair Lady.
Yep. Okay. Now, we kind of decided, since there's only a couple of us, we have a little bit of time to play with here, that we would give a little introduction to the song. So people who may not know the song or what it's about, this song, On the Street Where You Live, is a very interesting song because it is a love song that never mentions the word love, which I think is pretty cool. It's from My Fair Lady, and Freddie falls in love with Eliza, and he just thinks she's the bee's knees, as it were. And this is the song that he sings about falling in love with her. And Beth played Eliza.
Ow.
Yeah. Okay. I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I'm on the street where you live. Are there lilac trees in the heart of town? Can you hear a lark in any other part of town? Does enchantment pour out of every door? No, it's just on the street where you live. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by, I won't care if I can be here on the street where you live.
Yay! Thank you so much.
That's what
Yeah,
I went
that
for.
was a really fun one.
That was the first song I sang to audition for a Cats show.
Really?
Yep, and I didn't do the show. Needless to say, I did not get the part of Freddie. Brett Smith did. He's a lot cuter than me.
Brett Smith is another person we're trying to wrangle to get to do one of these because he's been in a lot too, and he has a wonderful voice as well. Hopefully we can snag him. Beth, can we hear Sunrise Sunset? That's one that I haven't heard before, so I'm excited to hear you perform it.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I would love to. This is from Fiddler on the Roof, and it is not a role that I have played. But over COVID, I have picked up the ukulele, and I have been playing and singing this song. And you know, when you play a song on an instrument, you get a greater appreciation for the piece. This has such a of course, it's a minor key, which always thrills me. And so I just have fallen in love with it anew. This is a very sentimental song, and the mother sings it, Golda sings it, as she is witnessing her child getting married. Is this the little girl I carried? Is this the little boy at play? I don't remember growing older. When did they? When did she get to be a beauty? When did he grow to be so tall? Wasn't it yesterday when they were small? Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly flow the years, one season following another, laden with happiness and tears.
Oh, so beautiful, Beth. Oh, that one sounded so good.
It's hard to have grown-up children to sing that song.
How has that, I want to hear a little bit more on ukulele and how that journey has been, and also managing, like playing with singing. Had you ever played before, or what sparked that interest?
I played guitar before, and the amazing Norm Stepanski, who is a musician up here, taught me how to play guitar probably 4 or 5 different times. So I play and then I drop it. But this time it was just really good. You know, playing an instrument is like meditating. You have to really focus on what you're doing, especially in the beginning. And so it was great during this time to have that time to myself. So I've enjoyed it, and I'm actually going to get my guitar out too. You know, most of the chords are the same. So it's fun. And I've actually been playing a little more piano again too.
So nice. Oh, that's good. Tori asked if you'd be willing to play a song with your ukulele today, or is that
just playing the only one I know? Probably not tonight, Tori. I know you're anxious for that, but yes, one of these, you know, one of my favorite ones is Me and Bobby McGee, because it's like 3 chords. So let me get that one down and we'll do a rock and roll night.
Well, and I was thinking there's the joke that Brian and Tori are going to have to show off their dance skills with all the dance lessons.
For sure.
We may have to call upon all of you to do a dance, a tap / ballet / ukulele
showdown. Margot too then. Margot's
too, yeah.
tapping too.
Margot.
Yes, and our tap teacher said that Margot's feet are very articulate.
Oh, the pressure.
You don't remember that? She did.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because I remember thinking my feet are not articulate.
Makes sense for a speech teacher.
I thought the same thing, Brian.
That's awesome.
I may be trying to organize that in the future. So all of you have to wait for that email calling on you to perform. We actually, another one requested is another heart wrencher. Brian, we have a request for Bring Him Home.
Yes, I'll get you, Margot. But I'm actually glad. This is a stunning song, but it's a tough one, and so I'm kind of glad we're doing it soon, because if I was doing it this year, I wouldn't make it through the end. Vocally, it's difficult. This is from Les Miserables. Jean Valjean is singing this song to a young man who has been wounded in the battle in Paris. And he loves this young man like a son, and it's a prayer to God to spare this young man's life. Helicopters outside. Okay. God on high, hear my prayer. In my need, you have always been there. He is young, he's afraid. Let him rest, heaven blessed. Bring him home, bring him home, bring him home. He's like the son I might have known if God had granted me a son. The summers die one by one, how soon they fly on, and I am old and will be gone. Bring him peace, bring him joy. He is young, he is only a boy. You can take, you can give. Let him be, let him live. If I die, let me die. Let him live. Bring him home. Bring him home. Bring him home.
Oh, fabulous.
Beautiful.
Felt the tears starting.
That's not the key that was originally sung in. It's a lot higher. Thank you.
Yeah, that song just has so much emotion.
You know, and I just a quick story on that song. I'm sorry that Julie's not here, but Ty Warren, Steve Cassing, and I sang that as a trio at John Grandy's memorial service, and it was a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, okay, maybe we'll switch it up quite a bit, because one of the earlier requests was a Spamalot song. So maybe we can pick up the tempo a little bit with the Whatever Happened to My Part.
Sure. And yeah, Margot, you should be joining in on this one because I know this was one of your solos, right? All right. So this is from Spamalot. And if you are not familiar, it is a hilarious spoof on the King Arthur legend. And Brian actually, we did excerpts from it for one of our Cats shows, and Brian was King Arthur and I was the Lady of the Lake, who gets to sing this song. And she, at this point in the play, she hasn't been on stage for a while and she's not too happy about it. What ever happened to my part? It was exciting at the start. Now we're halfway through Act 2, and I've had nothing yet to do. I've been off stage for far too long. It's ages since I've heard a song. This is one unhappy diva. The producers have deceived her. There is nothing I can sing from my heart. What ever happened to my part?
Oh, your facial expressions were perfect.
Yeah, totally.
That's true. What was, out of the different roles you've gotten to play, Beth, what have some of your favorite been in terms of just the type of character or just the range that they have?
Well, you know, the thing that's interesting for me anyway is I end up loving all of them. So certainly the Lady of the Lake was very fun. I especially love comedy. Actually, Nancy Walker and I did a great show called Always Patsy Cline, where she played Patsy Cline, and it's a true story based on a friendship that Patsy Cline had with another woman named Louise. That was really one of my most favorite ones. Brian was musical director for that one too. We've had a lot of partnerships. So, you know, Eliza Doolittle, Marian the Librarian, I've just had so much fun. And then of course, when we did A Christmas Carol, I got to fly. So that was pretty wonderful. So it's all been great. I can't pick a favorite.
So it's fun. Brian, do you have something, that's really stood out to you or that you love to revisit in terms of songs that you've sung or just the type of character?
Well, actually, I was going to just a brief little story about the Spamalot spoof stuff, the little excerpts we did when so Beth and I, honestly, we have worked together on, I don't know how many shows in lots of capacities.
We should count it up sometime.
Yeah, we should. But the funny thing is, we have only been on stage together and done stuff together, maybe a total of 8 minutes total. I had one scene on Music Man where I walked in. I never talked to her, but we were on stage for about 30 seconds together.
Oh, yeah, you said, "Where's Greg?"
What's that?
You
Yeah,
said,
where's Greg? Exactly. That was my whole line. And
I said, huh?
But when we did the Spamalot spoof, there was one night, and it was after, some of you are not old enough, but back in when we did that, at the Super Bowl, was it Janet Jackson that had this malfunction with her costume? And so we were doing whatever the song, I can't remember what song it was, and we had our arms around each other, we're singing, and my metal belt fell off, and something ripped on your costume at the same time, and we made some joke about, costume malfunction or whatever, and the audience loved it. But anyway, favorite song or, oh boy, that's almost impossible. Two things come to mind. One was I got the absolute privilege of playing the part of Nicely Johnson in Guys and Dolls, and he has the showstopper song in that show, "Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat," and I remember doing that song, and it was just so much fun. I got to go out in the audience and had a blast with it. And I remember Susie's here, good. Susie, after the show, because the people, gave me a nice standing O for that song. And Susie, afterwards, I saw her after the show, and she said, "You deserved every one of those people standing up for you." And that made, Susie, I don't know if I've ever told you that, Susie, but that made so much, made me feel so good. So thank you, Susie. Anyway, so that would probably be one of my faves.
So fun. Yeah, Guys and Dolls is a good one. I think it's a lesser known, I feel like a lesser known musical, but has some really good numbers and
It's
great lines. The
great.
characters are such
Yeah,
a fun.
Beth was in it too. When you what you played?
Sarah Brown.
Sarah Brown. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great show. Anyway.
Going back to You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, I saw a request for Brian to do Happiness.
Oh.
I don't know if I can make it through this song. This was, oh my gosh, this is from Good Man, Charlie Brown. It's the final song of the show. If you haven't seen or been in or had a chance to experience Your Good Man, Charlie Brown, it is everything the Charles Schulz comic strip is and more. It is just delightful, funny, heartwarming, sweet, kind. Oh, it's a lovely show. And Jody was in it. Tori was in it. Margot's kids were in it. Beth's kids were in it. Sarah and Spencer, my son. You and Spencer are the same age, right, Jody?
I think he's 1 grade younger than us.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, that's right. Anyway, a bunch of great kids were in the show and had such a blast. But oh, that's right. Amber was Violet. That's right. Oh, that's great. How fun. Anyway, but I remember Eric Bullrice played Charlie Brown. He did a marvelous job. And Sarah was smitten with Eric Bullrice. She thought he was the most amazing person in the world. Sarah played Sally, his younger sister. And in the Song of Happiness, 2 special pieces to it was that I don't know how old Spencer was. Gosh.
He's like, I think 6.
He's 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
He got to sing Climbing a Tree was his solo, and it was so exciting. But the cutest part was at the end of Happiness, Beth had staged it so that Charlie Brown was kind of by himself at the end of the song, and Sally, the part that Sarah played, was the last person to leave leave him alone on the stage at the end before he walked off with Snoopy. And she got to kiss him on the head when she left. That was adorable. But anyway, this song is just, it's so fun. My choir did this a couple years ago too. Okay. Happiness from Charlie Brown. Happiness is finding a pencil, pizza with sausage, telling the time. Happiness is learning to whistle, tying your shoe for the very first time. Happiness is playing the drum in your own school band. And happiness is walking hand in hand. Happiness is 2 kinds of ice cream, knowing a secret, climbing a tree. Happiness is 5 different crayons, catching a firefly, setting him free. Happiness is being alone every now and then. And happiness is coming home again. Happiness is morning and evening, daytime and nighttime too. For happiness is anyone and anything at all that's loved by you. Oh, messed up the last, but yeah, there you go.
It still sounded so sweet. That one's so cute too, because it's all it shows the personalities of all the characters.
Yeah,
what they most love.
that was so much fun. So much fun. I still have my shirt, Beth.
And I think during one of the rehearsals, oh, Beth, you're muted. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, that was a crazy but fabulous experience. It's such a beautiful show.
That's true, because you had to wrangle so many children, right?
Yes, and we double cast it. So we had 2 Sallys, and there was only 1 Charlie Brown, but there were multiple doubles, but we got everybody in there. And I think that's why it was such a great show. Such a wonderful experience.
So good. For some of the people who joined a little bit later, I reposted the list of songs that Brian and Beth have yet to sing. in the comments, so you can take a look at that. And then one of the ones I saw was for Beth to sing Feed the Birds.
Okay. So probably everybody knows this is from Mary Poppins, and which technically is now a Broadway musical. It used to just be a film score, but now it's legitimized, so it can fit into this category. And one thing I would say about this song is that my niece is super special to me. All my nieces and nephews are, but my niece and I have always had this very special bond, and she used to come and stay with me a lot when she was little. She's like 34 now. So she always thought that I was Mary Poppins, which was very sweet. So I used to sing her the songs and things like that. All right. Early each day to the steps of St. Paul, the little old bird woman comes in her own special way to the people she calls. Come buy my bags full of crumbs. Come feed the little birds, show them you care, and you'll be glad if you do. The young ones are hungry, their nests are so bare, all it takes is tuppence from you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence. Tuppence a bag.
Oh, that sounded so lovely, Beth. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
that's also a good plug for Chirp. I just realized.
that's
Chirp blend. Chirp. We're in the village, open every day, but Thanksgiving and Christmas.
So go check them out. With Beth's help, everyone can feed all the birds.
That's right.
And learn about them, which is such fun too.
That's true.
That's a good plug.
That's probably why Tori asked for it. She's, yeah.
A good employee. Brian, I saw Sander asked for Beyond the Sea, which I don't think you put on your list, but would you like to sing that?
I can do a couple of little verses of it, yeah.
Okay.
This is a beautiful song. Help me out, guys. Who made it really popular? Bobby Darin? No. Oh, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Bobby Darin. Very popular in the 1960s.
1959.
69. Thank you, Sander.
59.
Anyway, Beyond the Sea. There was a musical film. I think it was Kevin Spacey was in it, if I'm not mistaken, playing Bobby Darin. I think. Anyway,
I saw that too, and that's kind of what made me think of it.
There you go. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. Okay, I'll give it a shot. Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing. Somewhere beyond the sea, she's there waiting for me. If I could fly like birds on high, then straight to her arms I'd go sailing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was good. Thanks for that impromptu performance.
Great song for a crooner.
Oh, that one was great. Beth, here's another fun role. We have Wouldn't It Be Loverly, so we can swing back to My Fair Lady if you would sing that for us, please.
Yes, that was definitely a highlight role. And I want to tell one story that some of you have heard before, but one of the most fun things was our costume designer at the time, Sandra English, made 11 custom costumes for me. And all of them were extraordinary. All the costume changes were fast. There was one that was actually 40 seconds, and we did it on stage, but in this little box that was in between the sets. And I remember us doing it with a stopwatch and just figuring out how to get it down so that we made it. We made it every time. The most beautiful one, of course, was the ascot scene. And the hat that I had was huge. I mean, I'll put my hands out and it won't even be in the frame. It was so big and very, very heavy. It was gorgeous. So, but it was a rush always to get to the next scene. So then one night I was hurrying up and I had like 3 dressers and I would basically just stand there and people would put stuff on me. But I had to pin the hat on myself because I'm the only one that could feel where the pins were going. And so there was one night when I was pushing it and it wasn't going through. And so I was getting panicked and I crammed it into my head and I felt like I had just stabbed myself with this hat pin. And I thought, oh, well, whatever, it's just one of those nights, so hurry up, my cue is coming. And I told Sandra, I said, you know what, I'm sweating. And I went to wipe my face and she grabbed my hand and she said, stop. And it was blood rushing down. And of course, all we were all worried about was the dress, this white dress. So she hurried up and cleaned me up and then she sealed it with hairspray. We took a hat off and she sealed it with hairspray, which didn't feel great. But I remember, getting pushed out on the stage just in time. So that was my Fair Lady adventure. All right, wouldn't it be lovely? So she's, this is when she's still the street urchin. All I want is a room somewhere, far away from the cold night air, with one enormous chair. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely? Lots of chocolate for me to eat, lots of coal making lots of eat. Warm face, warm hands, warm feet, how wouldn't it be lovely, 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 lovely.
Yay. Yeah, that one's so cute because she goes through such a transformation throughout that story.
Very fun.
But also thanks for sharing your personal story, because I think those are so common. There are always mishaps and things going on, but hopefully the audience never really knows all the chaos that goes on behind the scenes. So
yes,
that is a good.
You just can't avoid it, but hopefully you try to have a good recovery in that case.
But luckily, so the dress was not ruined. And
everything was fine.
Oh, such good luck for that one.
Yes.
Brian, we have a request if you could do The Girl That I Marry.
Oh, that's fun. This song is really not all that well known unless you've done Annie Get Your Gun. Written by Irving Berlin, and we were doing a little sound check beforehand, and I sang a bit of this song for Tori for Jody to make sure that the sound was okay, and realized it's quite a dated song. So I apologize in advance for the not so progressive attitude about women. It's called The Girl That I Marry. Annie Get Your Gun is about Annie Oakley, a sharpshooting girl, and she falls in love with a man named Frank Butler. And they have a great relationship, but they're also very competitive with each other. And he, toward the beginning of the show, is telling her what kind of girl he wants to marry. And she's not this kind of girl. She's ruffian and, shooting guns and all that kind of stuff. And he tells about this sweet, demure kind of person that he wants to marry. So this is The Girl That I Marry from Annie Get Your Gun. I understudied for Frank Butler when I was also the stage manager for Annie Get Your Gun. So this is one of my faves. The girl that I marry will have to be as soft and as pink as a nursery. The girl I call my own will wear satins and laces and smell of cologne. Her nails will be polished and in her hair she'll wear a gardenia, and I'll be there 'stead of flitting. I'll be sitting next to her, and she'll purr like a kitten. A doll I can carry, the girl that I marry must be. Yeah, don't be that kind of girl. Be who you were supposed to be.
It's such a cute song, though.
It's adorable. It's adorable. The scene is so funny too in the show.
Oh, fun. Thanks for that. Beth, I realized that we skipped over one of the requests earlier from Carousel, which this is one of my favorite songs because it's so beautiful, but somebody asked for If I Loved You. Oh, can you unmute yourself? Sorry, Beth. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And I know Brian put this on his list too, so maybe he could do it next.
We'll have a mini showdown right now, but I think it would be nice to hear it from both of you. So yeah, you can just sing your favorite part and we'll get to hear it with a male and female voice.
Perfect. Okay. If I loved you, time and again I would try to say all I'd want you to know. If I loved you, words wouldn't come in an easy way. Round in circles I'd go, longing to tell you, but afraid and shy. I'd let my golden chances pass me by. Soon you'd leave me, off you would go in the mist of day. Never, never to
Oh, Beth, that sounded so fabulous.
It's another sad one.
That is.
Go ahead.
No, go, Brian.
I was going to say that song, if you've studied musical theater, Rodgers and Hammerstein were obviously phenomenal. But they had this trick when they would write a musical, because musicals tend to be longer because you have a 3-minute song, every 10 minutes in the music. So it adds a bunch of time to the thing. So the problem with doing a musical, it's that it has a love story to it, is that there's not a lot of time to set up the love story for them to fall in love, blah, 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 blah. So what they do, and they've done it in several of their musicals, and I know of 2 examples for sure. One of them is this song. They talk about what it's going to be like when they're in love before they fall in love. So that's what this song, If I Loved You. And the other one is in Oklahoma, when Curly and Lori sing, People Will Say We're in Love. Same kind of thing, where they set it up so that they don't have to use all that time to go through they just fall in love, and it makes sense. So anyway, I feel kind of odd singing this.
Well, to up the challenge, Tori asked to sing it in the same key.
Yeah, okay,
so does that lessen the stress for you?
Yeah, we'll give it a try. Okay. Not the same range, the same key. Okay. Actually, and also when I was a kid, we didn't have videotapes or CDs or DVDs or anything like that, but we did have LP albums. And this was one of the albums we had, was the original cast album with Carousel. And I remember it came on TV one day and I was watching it and I fell in love with this song. I just thought it was so beautiful. And I remember playing the song on the record, on the vinyl, and singing along with it over and over again. Because I just thought it was it's just a beautiful song. Okay. If I loved you time and again, I would try to say all I'd want you to know. If I loved you, words wouldn't come in an easy way. Round in circles I'd go, longing to tell you, but afraid and shy. I'd let my golden chances pass me by. Soon you'd leave me, off you would go in the mist of day, never, never to know how I love you. If I love you.
Oh, just as good the second time through.
Oh, that was kind of fun. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that one was, it is nice too that it's so versatile and that anyone can sing it because it is such a lovely song. Oh, great. Actually, I want to make a request and keep it in these classic musicals. Beth, would you sing My Favorite Things from The Sound of Music, please?
Sure. I'm not muted, right? Okay, this is another one I'm learning on the ukulele. So there you go. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silvery white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
Yay!
I started that a little too low, but you know, once you're in, you got to commit.
Great. we couldn't tell. It sounded wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
That one that actually we did through Cats Up Here was another one where there were a lot of kids. I think Spencer was in that one as well. It was double cast. So, and Susie's daughter Amber was in that one. Tori's younger sisters were in that one. I was in that one. So
Margot, weren't you one of the nuns, Margot? Yep, yeah. Helen was one of the nuns too. Yeah.
I think my mom was also a nun because I was in that, so she had to be in it. But she says she could never remember any of the lyrics, but it was fine because she would just sing sounds to the tune of the songs. And I'm sure Margot and everybody else kind of helped fill in.
Julie Grandy was in that. It was one of the times she was on stage with us. It was great. Great.
Yeah, that one was so fun. That one, I think the double cast was nice because, I mean, it's a lot of work, but they were able to fit so many people to be able to.
Well, and a little secret is that, I mean, the kids were wonderful. The kids were great. But whenever the kids sang by themselves as a group, we had the other cast of kids backstage singing at the same time, so it filled out the sound. Don't tell anybody.
So fun. I was looking at.
You know what? Susie requested a song, and I would love to do for her.
That's what I was. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
If you could do that, please, Brian.
Sure. Another one, another Rodgers and Hammerstein, South Pacific. It's based on James Michener's series of stories called Tales of the South Pacific, and it takes place during World War II on a couple of islands in the South Pacific. And we did the Big Bear Theater Project did a concert version of it. Margot was in that with us, and Beth played Nellie Forbush. I got to play, what was his name? Billis.
Did you iron my shorts for me, Billis?
So much fun. Anyway, it was a concert version, so we, it wasn't full stages and all that kind of stuff, but it was great fun. But in the story, Nellie Forbush, who's a nurse in the armed forces, falls in love with a French plantation owner, Emile Debec. And this is the love song. This is another one of those love songs that kind of sets up the falling in love thing before it happens. And he talks about at some point you're going to meet someone and what it's going to be. And so the song is Some Enchanted Evening. This show, I think it is, some people underrate, I think, South Pacific. I think it's got an incredible message. One of the songs from the show that sometimes they cut out because it can be a little edgy and is You've Got to Be Carefully Taught. And there's a racism overtone throughout the whole show. Between Nellie and a French planter, between the French planter and his wife that has died that was a Polynesian, and between Lieutenant Cable and Liat, his Polynesian girlfriend. Anyway, there's all this stuff going on, but it's a hard driving show. I mean, it's got a lot of great songs and fun stuff, but it also tells a very strong message. But this is the song that Emile Debec sings about falling in love. It's Some Enchanted Evening. Some enchanted evening, you may meet a stranger. You may meet a stranger across a crowded room. And somehow you know even then, that somehow you'll see here again and again. Some enchanted evening, someone may be laughing. You may hear her laughing across a crowded room. And night after night, as strange as it seems, the sound of her laughter will sing in your dreams. Who can explain it? Who can tell you why? Fools give you reasons, wise men never try. Some enchanted evening, when you find your true love, when you hear her call you across a crowded room, then fly to her side and make her your own. Or all through your life you may dream all alone. Once you have found her, never let her go. Once you have found her, never let her go. That's for you, Susie.
Oh, thank you for that, Brian. That sounded so fabulous with your voice.
Thank you.
Oh, it was great. I'm glad we could hear it. I realized we're already coming up at the end. I said that the session would be shorter, but you both had such fabulous choices and sang them so wonderfully, and everybody kept requesting that maybe I was wondering if there's one more song that you haven't gotten to do that was on your list. I don't know if you want to finish this off, Beth and Brian, with one more.
Well, Tori suggested a couple. Actually,
Oh, that's true. Oh,
yeah.
Tori asked for Memory, Beth.
Is
a really beautiful classic. So would you mind singing that for us?
I would love to. I would do anything for Tori. She knows that. Well, except apparently play the ukulele on this call. But soon, Tori, I promise. Midnight, not a sound from the pavement. Has the moon lost her memory? She is smiling alone. In the lamplight, the withered leaves collect at my feet, and the wind begins to moan. Memory, all alone in the moonlight, I can smile at the old days. I was beautiful then. I remember a time I knew what happiness was. Let the memory live again. Burned out ends of smoky days, the cold stale smell of morning. The street lamp dies, another night is over, and soon it will be dawning. Daylight, I must wait for the sunrise. I must think of a new life, and I mustn't give in. When the dawn comes, tonight will be a memory too, and a new day will begin.
Oh, that was one that touched at the heart. Oh, that sounded so lovely, Beth. Thank you. That was a great one. And then maybe we can finish off with Brian. Would you like to do Corner of the Sky? Oh, can you unmute, please?
This is Corner of the Sky is from a show called Pippin, and it's the story of Charlemagne's son, who is actually named Pepin, and his adventures in discovering himself. Stephen Schwartz wrote Wicked. He wrote Godspell. A lot of really, really great stuff, and I just love what he does when he writes. He's just phenomenal. I had the privilege several years ago when I was back in New York City. My daughter and I went back for a family wedding, and we happened to be there on Halloween, and I was in, believe it or not, Times Square on Halloween in New York City. Crazy, but it was so much fun. And I went to, if you've ever been in New York, you got to go to TKTS Tickets, where you get cheap tickets for that day performances. And I just, you just go and you just, whatever they've got, and you get like half price on these tickets. And and Pippin had a revival at the time. It ended up getting the Tony Award for Best Revival of a Musical for that year. And so I got to go see it. And because it was a single seat, because I was by myself, Sarah was off with her friends, I got second row center. And I'm sitting there, and the people, I mean, you get the sweat from the performers was dripping all over us. It was absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. The song Corner of the Sky is a song that Pippin sings toward the beginning of the show, where he's just trying to figure out, what he wants to be and who he wants to be. And then it's reprised again at the end of the show. Anyway, here's Corner of the Sky. Everything has its season, everything has its time. Show me a reason and I'll soon show you a rhyme. Cats sit on the windowsill, children sit in the snow. Why do I feel I don't fit in anywhere I go? Rivers belong where they can ramble. Eagles belong where they can fly. I've got to be where my spirit can run free. I gotta find my corner of the sky. Every man has his daydreams and every man has his goal. People like the way dreams have of sticking to the soul. So many men seem destined to settle for something small. But I won't rest until I know I have it all. So don't ask where I'm going, just listen when I'm gone. And far away you'll hear me singing softly to the dawn. Rivers belong where they can ramble. Eagles belong where they can fly. I've got to be where my spirit can run free. Gotta find my corner of the sky.
Oh, what a wonderful song. That was a great closer for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But, yeah, thank you both to Brian and to Beth. I think this is really nice to hear you revisit some of the songs that you love, and also from these musicals that I think a lot of us have performed in or seen, and that are such classics. So I really appreciate you both coming. I appreciate everyone here who came to watch and listen. So thank you all too, because we have to do this for an audience.
Can I ask a quick question? I don't know who MC is. I know everyone else.
Oh, that's my dad, I think.
Oh, I didn't recognize him. Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. We all get older. Yeah. Okay, fine.
Yeah, so thank you all for coming. We are going to take a break next week just because it's the 3rd, so that's right before the July 4th weekend, which was a little tricky. So hopefully we can replay some of the snippets from our old sessions, and then we'll come back on July 10th, and that one will actually be our first time that we'll be showcasing some instrumentalists in the Big Bear Valley. So we'll have some piano and guitar. So I hope you all can join us, because we really do have some great musicians in Big Bear as well. But thank you so much to Brian and to Beth. I'll play a little song I'll play Happiness from Your Good Man, Charlie Brown as we come out. And please look for my announcements for the next time we do this session. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you so much.
Bye. Good night.
I'm so happy. That little red-haired girl dropped her pencil. Happiness is finding a pencil. Pizza with sausage. Telling the time. Happiness is learning to whistle. Tying your shoe for the very first time. Happiness is playing and happiness is walking hand in hand. Happiness is 2 kinds of ice cream. Knowing a secret, climbing a tree. Happiness is 5 different crayons, catching a firefly, setting him free. Happiness is being alone.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Bye-bye.